It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy Camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
Yes, here we are. This is R&R, waiting for the RJ Ochoa.
I can't see him.
That's Rudy J. I'm Rob. Welcome aboard R&R as we sojourn on our regular visit with RJ Ochoa, Rock the Mic champ, Blogging the Boy guy, and
there it is.
all around. There we go. This is the setup that we should have. If you're watching our YouTube feed, this is how we do things. Hey, morning, RJ. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great. I'm doing well. It's great to be with you all. I was telling Pledge right now, we got a new puppy last night. So
did you really?
My house.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was actually inspired by Rob, who has puppy fever.
I do.
We have a new puppy. She's a girl, so we've named her Lady Bear to go along with Bear. It's a bit of a rambunctious sort of night.
What kind of puppy is it?
Rescue?
She's a cat. She's a cavapoo, so she's a little toy, so that my son can play with her and smush her face.
So what exactly a cav? What I don't know what the mix is.
Half King Charles Cavalier, half poodle. So she's tiny. Like we've all eaten, Subway sandwiches bigger than her. I mean, like she is really little.
Is she brown? So, is she kind of a tan color?
I would say like the right kind of caramel brown.
I can see. Like, we're looking at the photos up here, and that's
awesome.
That's an ugly dog.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
man. I'm envious. Enjoy the puppy feet.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that there'll be a puppy in Robbie T's life.
There's one imminent, we hope. All right, let's talk about what we're going to see tomorrow night. Are we going to see anything tomorrow night?
No.
I think I might as well stream the puppy. Like, I think you get more entertainment out of that.
Well, there's got to be something. I mean, how many jobs are at stake? 2, 3?
I think that's being generous.
Really?
I think, well, especially, it's an unfortunate reality, but it's a generally inevitable one that injuries will happen the way that they did last week. And so,
True.
Again, while you don't ever want that, they do sort of naturally sort some things into place.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was a little bit, up for contention was the kind of fourth tight end. Who was it going to be? Was John Stevens Jr. going to play somebody out of a job? Obviously, he tore his ACL, so now he's kind of this IR. I wouldn't call it stash because he tore his ACL, but he's on injured reserve and on ice until next year. So anything that, and go to bloggingtheboys.com, but anything that really was dramatic, kind of lost its steam over the course of last week. So everything really is pretty chalk right now.
RJ, why didn't the Cowboys, get a 6th-round pick, a 7th-round pick, and go by the storage auction that was the Arizona Cardinals just to shop around? I mean, I'm not saying that there's any holes, and I know they like their team, but when there's a fire sale like that going on, why not grab a 6th and a 7th and just go shop a little bit?
I mean, I really like Isaiah Simmons, and I think everybody does, but I think he's like we have in my house this, like, it's not a couch, it's not a futon, it's like a display seat that nobody really sits on, and we've moved it I don't know how many times, like, to so many different places. Like, maybe let's put it here now, let's kick it over there for 6 months. And that's kind of what Isaiah Simmons is. Like,
I can't believe you just said that about Isaiah Simmons.
What a great analogy. That is so perfect. We don't know what the hell to do with him.
He's a pass rusher. He's a linebacker.
But in Dan Quinn's defense, isn't that what Dan Quinn likes, RJ?
Okay, well, what pass rusher isn't going to, like, go back to the roster? Like, are we booting Dante Fowler from the team? Are we booting Izzy Mukwamu from the team? Like,
okay, RJ, I agree with this particular one, but is it a mentality with the Cowboys that they just don't do this anyway? That late preseason cut weekend, get a guy before anybody else can, late kind of trades. That's just not something that the Cowboys have traditionally done.
That's not entirely true. It was in 2018 that they, or maybe 17, that right at roster cutdowns, they flipped late round picks to the Cincinnati Bengals for cornerback Benet Benwickery, to the Packers and Mike McCarthy, incidentally, for, I believe it was Dayton Jones. So they're not above that.
Okay.
I mean, and, it was a different set of circumstances, but early in the 2015 season, after Tony Romo got hurt, they flipped the pick from Matt Cackle.
Well, that's different. Okay. That's out of need.
But it was still really early, and like that's my point. They don't really have a need, and
anywhere. But they don't traditionally even, like we were talking about, loot and pillage a burning building. I mean, it's just not something that they traditionally I've seen them do.
I mean, I agree with that generally, but to be fair, neither have the Giants and the Cowboys.
Right.
I would love to kill them for anything, like to have fun with it, but. I mean, in 2019, they flipped a 6th-round pick to the Dolphins for Robert Quinn, and that worked out really well because then he signed a big contract with Chicago. They got the contract.
That's the best point you've made, and that was what 19. So that hadn't been that long ago.
And then later right before the trade deadline that year, they did the same thing for Michael Bennett. They flipped the pick with New England. That didn't work out as well. But I mean, they're not above that. I guess they're not. I think there are teams that historically don't do that at all. The Giants were kind of one of them. But they have some open square footage in the floor plan, and so they're like, hey, give us the weird looking couch, like it'll go great right here in the reading room.
Who's this RB2 thing? I asked Rob earlier, RJ, I was like, do you think Cincinnati radio and New York radio and LA radio is really talking about RB2 as much as we are? If there is something here, who wins the battle?
I mean, it depends how you evaluate the position. And I think Cincinnati radio maybe does it differently,
right?
Because of what's going on. Although if you're in Cincinnati, I don't know if they're allowed to speak to RB1 and Joe Mixon. And
no, they're not.
No, they're not. That's a different thing. But, Deuce Vaughn isn't in contention because Deuce Vaughn is RBX. Like he's not a number.
Yes,
I
like
very
that.
Different.
I like that.
So if Tony Pollard's unavailable to me and somebody has to carry the ball, call it 15, 17 times, it's Rico Dowdle. I don't think there's any close. I know he fumbled against the Jaguars. I know he missed the block on the punt against the Seahawks. I don't care. All of that is incidental to me. Special teams, I mean, they matter, but they don't matter. Like what matters to me as Rico Dowdle is concerned is how he contributes on offense. And he's proven to be the best true ball carrier outside of Tony Pollard, and that's the most important thing.
And pass pro as well. Would you say he's leading the pack in pass pro?
I saw this take, and I think it was Bob Sturm, the great Bob Sturm, so I want to give him credit for it. He quote tweeted somebody, we have become so hyper aware of pass protection as far as what running backs can do because the Cowboys shoved down our throat that that's what Zeke was a lead at. We never ever cared about that before.
Right.
And it was like the only drum they could bang that, and no disrespect to Zeke, but people are like, well, what's Deuce Vaughn going to do in pass protection? I don't know, run out to the flat and catch a screen pass and run up for 45 yards. That's how he's going to handle pass protection.
That's RJ Ochoa. A couple questions. First of all, the injuries. 3 ACLs in a week. One time, 2 times, 3 times. Do you think there's going to be some internal discussion as to drills or prep or anything like that? Because that is an extraordinary number. Yeah,
I mean, and 3 rookies at that. I mean, you could argue that.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I mean, 3 really interesting stories. I don't know how much you both know about David Durden. The Athletic does a profile every year leading up to the draft. It's called Prospect X. And they kind of interview a player as they're going through the process and get these like intimate details about it all. And then after the draft, reveal who it was. And it was Durden this year. So it was really cool story. But I mean, it's a weird coincidence. And right now it's difficult to chalk it up to more.
And in fact, it is.
But you're right. Yeah, I think there is, I mean, just right now realizing that they're all rookies. 2 of them are drafted rookies, if you include John Stevens Jr. there. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, and it's also football. It's also weird crap happens, weird things happen. If you're a believer in curses, last week was in Seattle. The preseason, games in Seattle have generally ended in some sort of heartbreak for Cowboys fans. People are kind of superstitious when it comes to preseason games in Seattle at this point.
All right, Sam Williams, real quick. Your thoughts on Jerry's response about his maturation and his anything to see here, or is the NFL going to come sniffing around?
This was a weird week for Jerry Jones. The Ring of Honor stuff I thought was really
We're going to get there.
Kind of par for the course. I mean, his comments on Sam Williams are like, I mean, they just kind of are what they are. I've told you this before, Rob. I don't think I've explained to you, Rudy. I live my life by something called the purple pants rule. If you gave me a job and you said, hey, and you gave me a job, you said, hey, I'll pay you all this money, whatever. Here's your contract. And in the contract, it says you can't wear purple pants to work on Wednesdays. That's a dumb rule. But if it's in the contract and I sign it and I know that, and then I wear purple pants to work on Wednesdays, I can't sit here and be like, this rule's so stupid. I mean, it's a rule that I agreed to abide by. And so I'm certainly not chastising Sam Williams. It's a serious thing, you know, in a literal sense. And he has a track record, obviously, not just in the NFL, but dating back to his time at Ole Miss.
Right.
So, I mean, I know Jerry's, this is peak. If you believe in Jerry Jones, the character, like the WWE-ness of it all, we're at the peak season for that. Like with the regular season about to begin, like he is really kind of feeling himself. And obviously announced all the changes to the stadium, which are because they want to host some World Cup matches in 3 years. So they got to add some glitz and glamour to the building. They won't add curtains though.
No curtains. No curtains. Cedric Wilson gets you to get blinded. But RJ, you have enough followers to get a response from Brandon Jacobs. Would you remind him how many interceptions Eli threw each year while he played alongside of him? Has Brandon Jacobs lost his mind, or was there some truth to what he was saying?
I didn't even see what Brandon Jacobs.
Oh, really?
Oh, this is brand new and fresh.
Yeah. Well, let's.
James will dig this up.
Yeah, James will dig it up. Let's go.
On his last contract, he'll be a backup after this contract is over with. I don't see Dallas bringing him back with that type of money. And once you've made that type of money, you know that Dak is making, you don't get two like that. You don't get two like that after all those interceptions and turnovers that you've had, you know, that you've thrown, you know, throughout the last 3 or 4 years. So I mean, I see Daniel Jones' window being better, being a lot higher than Dak Prescott. You know, just given the fact that the age that he's been playing and he's almost toward the end of his contract, and I don't see Cowboys bringing him back at that type of money, and I think he'll be a backup elsewhere.
There you have it, Brandon Jacobs.
So you want to tweet him? Because I don't have 80,000 followers to get a response. He's going to look at my follower list and be like, he's not worthy. You got enough followers where he might have to respond to you, RJ.
Well, first of all, you're the one who netted Micah Parsons in terms of some sort of clapback on social media, not me. But I mean, look, I respect the hustle in the media game.
Oh, okay.
I respect trying to have a post-football career potentially. I don't know what Brandon Jacobs. I'm not levying any accusations here.
It was a hot take that is going to fall flat.
I'm not trying to play some sort of victim here, but I would think have a lot of experience in this world, and this offseason has been by far the most, you know, absurd when it comes to the polarization of Dak Prescott.
Yeah, for sure.
It has reached a different boiling point, and some of it is that there are louder, bigger national shows now that provide opportunities for players like this, and my belief is that these networks, they want that take, they want that clip, they want that popping off, because I believe in Dak Prescott, but even if you don't, like, that's absurd. Like there's zero logic to support that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
there you go, RJ. Let's get into the Ring of Honor.
Yes.
So, of course, he's going in. I'm talking about where.
Oh,
I mean, of course. I mean,
okay.
of course,
I
he
didn't
was
know
going
who you
in.
were talking about. Okay, go ahead.
But of course, he's going in. Could have been, and everybody with bated breath. Of course, he's going in, but he's not, or is he? What do you think of going on, and how embarrassing? Did you termed it as embarrassing? I think you said.
Yeah, I mean, DeMarcus Ware, obviously, like this is for multiple things are true. DeMarcus Ware deserves a spot in the Ring of Honor. He deserves it immediately. Nobody is upset about DeMarcus Ware getting his rightful place in the Ring of Honor. What's unfortunate and embarrassing and really petulant is that this has become about something else. Like, you know, and it's unfortunate for DeMarcus Ware that in what should be a moment of glory and praise and happiness and gratitude, that this Jimmy Johnson shadow looms so large. And it's unfortunate that everybody has to deal with that. You know, and people get like, why are you asking these questions? Why do you care? Well, it's a relevant thing.
It is.
I mean, so like this is this kind of, you know, left foot that is in the middle of everything that is happening here. And there's no logical explanation. And, you know, I said this on my podcast on Thursday. I really wanted to believe that 2 years ago, Jerry Jones was genuine when he said in the lead up to Jimmy's enshrinement in the Hall of Fame that he would be going into the Ring of Honor. A lot of people, you know, I thought pessimistic people at the time said, look, he's just trying to upstage him. And I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, with 2 years worth of hindsight now, it's difficult to ascertain anything else. That Jerry just wanted a moment and wanted all the headlines that Jimmy was going to go into the Ring of Honor. I thought his answer about I wanted to put a player in was the most childlike thing. It was like playing a board game with a kid, and it was like, no, well, I actually get to roll twice in a row. Right. Making rolls up on the fly. Like, it was so silly and ridiculous.
Am I wrong in saying I feel like the triplets should be more demonstrative in Jimmy's favor and louder?
I think they have been.
Okay. I just didn't feel like it was loud enough because I mean, I see Michael Irvin sweating profusely on First Take, screaming and yelling. I feel like I would like to see that same energy from him for Jimmy Johnson's behalf for the Ring of Honor.
I think they all are pretty vocal, and I wouldn't limit it to just them. I would extend it to, you know, their teammates. I mean, Brett Woodson's been vocal. Tony Casillas has been vocal. I mean, everybody who Ken Norton Jr. I mean, everybody has said Jimmy absolutely deserves it, and that's like, you know, I think obviously the most important person, the most relevant person here is Jimmy, and he deserves it. And the hypocrisy of all this, I mean, there's really only one person being hypocritical, but it's people say, you know, Chuck Howley goes into the Hall of Fame, and he's obviously, you know, an elder gentleman and dealing with his own medical issues. And people say, like, you know, we've got to stop this. We've got to get people in there sooner so they can experience it, their families can experience it, so there isn't this bittersweet element to it. And I mean, you know, everyone's days are numbered, and so you really, it would be such a shame for anyone to not get to enjoy that honor. And beyond Jimmy, which is who's obviously the most important person here, I think about like my dad. I think about, you know, like uncles. I think people who loved those Cowboys,
that's a great point.
Experienced transformative parts of their life with those Cowboys as kind of the bedrock of their sports fandom, and they deserve that, right? Like, you know, I think about the triplets and the players who played and the coaches and the staffers and the stadium workers and the people who lived in DFW or whoever. Like, everyone deserves that. It was so awesome to see. It has been awesome to see the likes of Timmy and Manu and Tony get their honor, you know, when they have. And it's always this kind of great grand ceremony. And that feels like something that as fans you deserve. And so it's just really sad that everyone is being denied that opportunity because of whatever you want to call it, petulance or arrogance or pride or whatever.
I think he's proven.
That's a great point.
I don't think he's going to put him in until or unless he wins another ring. That's the only bear
say that.
I can't see any other reason to wait. There's something deep in his soul.
People say that he wants to put himself in first. I mean, it's just,
that would be bad.
It would be bad. I mean, and I think I've mentioned this many times before. So when you enter the Hall of Fame, you get a Hall of Fame ring, and generally your team honors you at halftime of the game. Right. That will happen apart from the Ring of Honor ceremony for DeMarcus Ware. But Jerry Jones himself, when he went into the Hall of Fame, and Jimmy did have this moment, to be clear, but Jerry's moment was halftime of the Eagles game in 2017, which at the time was the biggest loss the Cowboys had ever had at AT&T Stadium. So, and like think about that. Like, this is a building that is so like synonymous with Jerry Jones, and it was against the team's arch on their way towards winning their first Super Bowl in franchise history, blew them out worse than anyone ever had in the building on the night that he was celebrated for going into the Hall of Fame. Like, the poetic, I would hate to call it justice because I hated everything about it, but the poetic sort of, if you believe in karmic justice of that was really profound.
Hey, RJ, when we're all yelling and screaming, I kind of come to you to see if we need to calm down. There's nothing to see here. Brandon Cooks, pilot license. I mean, was Jerry legit? Like, I haven't seen the video. I've only seen the transcript. Was Jerry legit mad about this? And like what do you make of all this Brandon Cooks and taking the team up on his plane and stuff?
maybe I'm getting old, but like when I saw the video, I quote tweeted it and I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah,
Oh,
man,
cool.
It was
Are
like,
you
I don't
serious?
think there's anything
You
to
didn't
see
get that?
here.
You didn't. That's like what we got players that they're not allowed to ride motorcycles, but you want them to be able to fly
That's
planes.
different. Planes are different.
No, it's
So,
not. Go ahead, RJ.
It was
It's
cool.
got a parachute.
And part of what was cool was like, it was like, man, that's badass. Like Micah Parsons is hanging out with Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. Like he's learning from them. Like that was honestly where my mind was. And then I got all these responses that was like,
What hand grenade? They're all gone.
Yeah, like this is terrifying. And I get that. Like I mean, it's why like I in a similar way, I suppose, it's why like I don't want any starters to play in their preseason. Like we've come this far, right? You know, whatever. The season's so important. So this is not quite the purple pants rule, but this is like, hey, I brought a tiger into the office.
That's
So
like
that's part of
Pledge
the
said.
contract, but
Yeah, like you
you
can't
know,
play in the preseason game, but you could take 3 starters in a plane.
It's just an airplane. We're not talking. This isn't them on the side of a mountain. It's an airplane. It's not. I don't get the
Jerry was upset.
And of all the people, how many times you up in a copter or a swag plane? I mean, of all the people who would get the fact that you're safer up there than you are speeding around in a Corvette at 95 in a 30.
No, that's fair.
I mean, at the end of the day, they weren't doing anything. It wasn't like a joyride. Like it wasn't illegal. You know, like he's a
Right.
licensed pilot. Like you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, like he's technically like the people who are in charge of like I don't know, like the Federal Aviation Committee or whoever have deemed that Brandon Cooks is, you know, eligible to fly planes. So that's all that was happening here. But I understand that the pushback. I guarantee you that we will see way less of Brandon Cooks on social
Yep.
media for a while because they are like
He was already quiet,
so he's trying
RJ.
to have fun.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
just in case he has the yips, do you like Trey Lance? Just in case Dak really has the yips, you like Trey Lance at all? I've never seen him play, RJ. I've never seen him
Did
play.
you
I have
hear
no
the
idea.
response? Every time you bring up Trey Lance, people go. They
I mean,
start with the exhale.
Just in case. I mean, just in case. He's on a rookie deal.
I feel badly for Trey Lance because this has been really awkward for him. He's
Yeah.
obviously made a lot of money to put up with some awkwardness, and so some people would say that they would gladly deal with the awkwardness, but no, I really more than anything sighed because we almost made it the full show without Rudy saying something ridiculous. But of course, Rudy has to ruin it.
How about Philly
we're all
getting
having a
Taylor?
nice time.
Oh, my bad, RJ. You know I had to.
I mean, look, I like Jonathan Taylor a lot, and I know everybody loved him at Wisconsin, and he's a cool dude. And I think that there's a lot of people rooting for the running back, to, like in general, to like get a win because the position has been so devalued. But Jonathan Taylor was not a great player last year. Like I do think that there are some people that are just like Jonathan Taylor's available. Like Brandon Jacobs is coming out of retirement. What? Like we let's get him on the team. Like I don't know. Like I want nothing to do with it. So if Philly wants to trade for Jonathan Taylor, by all means, like cool. Like
They don't scare you?
That
Wow.
wouldn't scare me. I mean, it would perk me up a little bit in my chair. It'd be like the video game meme, you know, like I was just chilling. Now I'm taking a little bit more serious, but I'm not like panicking, freaking out, smashing the glass. Again, you know, if he's this great, and I don't mean to do the like, if he's so great, how come no one's traded for him yet? But
Right.
he's not like, no, you could have literally been the league's leading rusher last year and not been valued by the team that employed you and the coaching staff that employed you so much that you deserve a new contract in their eyes, as evidenced by Josh Jacobs at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Truth. That's RJ Ochoa. He's of Blogging the Boys, a Rock the Mic champ, and a survivor of the first tropical storm of the season. Did you still manage to get in 18 as it blew over?
Yeah, you all right?
I did not, and I don't see that in my future with the puppy now. So it's you know, it's just a zoo around here. And the thing is, she is brown, like you mentioned, and she kind of blends in with our tile, and we don't have a collar on her yet, so she's silent. So like I've been almost like kicking her
Don't
around,
step
like,
on her.
like,
Yeah,
like,
be
like
careful.
punting her. I can't see or hear her basically at any time. But if actually, Rob, you've had multiple dogs. Do you have a point of advice? Because this is the first time I've ever had 2 dogs.
Make sure they get along. Number one.
No,
And,
but when
That's
they're
that
when they're
d-
teacup size, man, be careful. Put the
and decide now, is that dog allowed on the bed or not, and stick to it.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
off
own a
the
kennel.
bed. Yeah, I mean, I think we're good. I think we're off to a good start.
Well, you know
It's
you're
our
in
first
training now.
weekend.
Once you get that second dog,
I
you're
mean,
in training for, the next
Second
step in
child.
life. Yeah. That's just part of the manual,
I
which you
mean,
haven't received yet.
that makes sense. I guess I'll check my spam folder, see if that came in somewhere
No.
along the
No,
way.
it has to be hand delivered. That's the thing.
You know, you mentioned though this tropical storm. That was such a nice day. Like where we live, like it was just rainy and cloudy and kind of fall breezy. It was such a tease. Like we were like, boom, fall's here. Light the candles, get the decorations out. We're good to go. And then the next day was 100 degrees and humid. Like I'm sick of this. Like we're all sick of this. Like we have come
Agreed.
to a worldwide agreement that the heat needs to leave. Like there is nothing, literally nothing that we can agree on as a planet. But we are all on the same page here. Like, this is stupid. Enough of it. I'm tired.
That's a man with a new dog. RJ Ochoa. Enjoy the rest.
Love you, brother.
Hey, we'll talk to you next
Y'all
week.
have the best weekend ever, or I'll be pissed.